Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Astro-Bash 2024 speaker interviews. I'm Meghna Bhagat, and joining me today is Shelly Hines, coming back to Astro-Bash for the second time. Hi, Shelly.
Hello, hello. Welcome.
Well, thank you, because I'm going to be coming for the first time as a speaker, and you've already been there. What are you most looking forward to about coming back, Shelly?
Being with my people, being with my tribe, and presenting something that I have a lot of passion for. Yeah.
And for people who've not been there before, can they find room in this tribe too? What would be most interesting for them to meet this tribe?
I think I can tell you how I found my tribe. And I was studying astrology already, and I found a book of Stephen Forrest, and then I heard about the blast in Sedona. This was 2007, I think. And I decided I wanted to be in person in Stephen's energetic field. And there were lots of other great astrologers. It was a wonderful, wonderful first time conference for me. And I had heard Stephen's voice on I Googled the YouTube something, and I'm clairaudient sometimes, and his voice caught my heart. And so I said I wanted to be sure. So I went to this conference and I sat there and listened, and I said, oh, this is where I'm headed. And so Stephen became my teacher. So that worked for me. But if it doesn't work for you, keep on the journey. Find the tribe that you have a home in. And when I first sat in Stephen's classes, I sat mostly in the front row. I think the first year, the second row, but after that, I was in the front row. And the first apprentice program I attended, I silently wept tears of joy, you know, for being in this presence and being with people who spoke my language, even though I say I'm remembering and I'm learning truly, but I am above all, I'm remembering because I've done this work before. And so I was just so joyful. And I still am. And I'm hungry for more always.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And
Yeah.
clearly it's made such a beautiful, deep impact on you. I love that. You are an artist also. I'm seeing I
Yeah.
know in your interview last year you talked about your paintings. This one is huge and gorgeous. Can you tell us a little
Yeah.
bit?
Thank you. It's a new thing that I learned. I have a retrograde Neptune in my chart. And by progression, it actually went direct during COVID years. And so it's in my sixth house, and it was all about it's in Libra. So it was about finding a spiritual balance. And not only just with astrology, but I found my creativity, this Neptune creativity came through. So this is a lady emerging from the lotus, and she has a lotus in her hands. It's unfinished, but there is a feminine, you can't see her face very well, probably. I don't know what you can see. So the feminine is receiving and inhaling through her nose, and the masculine side is exhaling through the mouth. And so I call it breath for right now. It's a work in process. And so I do intentional creativity as well as, and I blend in the astrology. Intentional creativity is a way of getting your critic out of the way. And I have a very busy Mercury, so that is a very loud and proud signature for me. And let the muse come in. And when we're creating, I think we're the closest to the God flow that we can be, is when we're all creators. We're created in God's image, so everyone can create. And that's what I believe. You don't have to be an artist, and it doesn't have to be a pretty painting. It's about moving energy.
I love that. What a beautiful way of putting it. That creativity unleashes the ability to do that. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And I dibble dabbled in painting, and I've always been a creative, but it wasn't until 2020 and I learned intentional creativity that I brought that into what I offer.
I mean, for 4 years, that's remarkable behind you.
Thank you. And this is my tree of life and my big fat beautiful moon in the background, and both of them are still in process.
They're gorgeous. I love
Thanks.
them. Thank you. So you're talking about the divine feminine this time, just as you did last time. And there's a
Yeah.
divine feminine aspect, it looks like, with the woman there. And this time you have the masculine, the feminine. What can people expect from what you're going to be talking about this year?
Well, last year it was the voice of the feminine divine, and this is going to have a similar title too. But I'm developing the archetypes around a little known asteroid named Magdalena. And I had a download experience in 2016 of just seek this particular asteroid, and the direction was look up the asteroid Magdalena, not Mother Mary, not Mary, not Magdalene, but Magdalena. And there was one. I didn't use asteroids at the time. And I did Chiron maybe, you know, and I would look a little bit at Vesta and Ceres and some of the others. But I really, in practice, there's so much in the chart that's good without asteroids. But as a nurse and a midwife, the healer, the Chiron I use, but Magdalena was right there. And so I am totally biased. I'll admit that right now. It took me 3 days to figure out the technical stuff to get her into my program so I could see where she was. And the discovery chart is fascinating. But so here's my bias. She's in my first house. She's right on my rising sign. And so it was just like, okay, you know, when you hear something or feel something and it's not of yourself and you know it's from someplace else, if it's a good thing, follow it. And so that's what I did. And so Magdalena, I've been developing her archetypes. And when I have the masculine and the feminine, I see that in everything and everybody. So men and women are both, you know, either or. We have a blending of them. I think we're seeing in our time right now what happens when half the population is subjugated and not equal. And
Indeed.
so it's time for this feminine voice to come out. And it doesn't matter if the feminine voice is coming out of a female body or a male body or whatever you think you feel like you are. You still have both. And so I want to give space for the divine feminine voice to come through. And that's what my passion is now.
That's beautiful. I am very interested in the divine feminine myself. And
Yeah.
being in the female form, I'm definitely aware of my masculine side, but I am looking forward to seeing how we can bring more of that. So I'm really excited about
Yeah.
learning more about that.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. And it's just like many women, we've had to operate in our masculine. And men haven't been allowed to operate in the little bit of feminine they might have. If they had, they were marked, you know? And so it's time. The Aquarian age is all about this right now.
Amen, sister. I love that. Well, let me ask you, can you tell us a little bit about what it means to have Magdalena in your first house in Taurus, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, I have Taurus rising, but she's let's see. Yeah, she's at 24 degrees, 28 degrees of Taurus. And I have a lot of 28-degree markers in my chart. So she is really aspecting my chart in a lot of ways. My Uranus, my Neptune, close enough to Pluto and Jupiter to count. And then on my horizon, my rising is 24 degrees. So she's right there, loud and proud. And for me, I am not a Christian, as many people will call themselves Christian. I try to manifest Christ consciousness, but I also want to manifest, dang it, Magdalene consciousness. And because before I got that download to look up Magdalena, I was reading the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and it's fascinating, the books that didn't get in the canon. Okay. And I walked away from church like many of us. And my soul is very Catholic. My soul is. Mom never took me to church, but yeah, I have a Catholic soul for sure. And I've renounced old vows of poverty and chastity and silence and obedience and lots of things like that just to get to where I am now, which is a far healthier state than I was pre-astrology. So
Wow. What a healing journey it sounds like,
yeah,
Shelly. Do
yeah.
you, how does that healing journey that you've done with yourself translate to your clients?
I love when I have a biased group because I have a lot of Mary Magdalene followers. And there's a variety. Some people are very tied into the lineage of Yeshua and Miriam. I like to try to use their Jewish names. And I'm not, because she's in everybody's heart. Okay, she's in everybody's heart. So there are people who follow the lineage. That's not important to me. It's who you are today. It's who you are today and what are you going to do with that energy. And so when a woman comes to me and she has an interest in the Magdalene, well, I'll put that in her chart. And it really touches people. It truly goes, oh my gosh, especially those who are, quote, devotees of Magdalene and Yeshua. I'm a lot of Gemini. I'm a student. I'm a student of them, and so I can follow the studies. And I always want to know more. And so I do question. And my questioning is an irritant to some of my teachers and some of my clients because I'm not a full-on devoted to a Marian practice. I do use her in meditation, but not as a worship. I don't worship in that way, the way a lot of my clients do. So yeah, they're thrilled about it. Or, some people, just like Chiron, we have people that can go through, they don't know about astrology, they don't know their Chiron, but they still have that area of that energy. And if they want to talk about Chiron and that stuff, then we do. And if they don't, so we don't. I was told by a teacher of mine who knew very little astrology. He was a soulmate. And he told me one day, he was thrilled that I was studying. I even spoke at his church about Magdalene. But he said, one of these days, you're going to put your hand on top of a chart and tell the client, I was taught A plus B equals C, and this is what I see in your chart, but I'm going to tell you something different. And so that's where I veered differently from the pure academia, pure teachings of astrological practice, in that I trust what the client needs to hear. And if the client doesn't need to hear about a Pluto transit, I'm not going to talk about it. If they're focused on Mercury and Venus, that's what we're going to be. And so I do kind of, I'm a rogue. I'm a rogue and I'm a heretic and I'm proud. And so I do it my own way.
I love those terms. I remember you using them before, and I think that there's something about evolutionary astrology, even when it started, was quite that as well. How do you?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I don't know
Yeah,
how, it started before Jeffrey Wolf Green and Stephen Forrest. They acknowledge, was it Merriman?
I think
There's,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
who used the term the first time. And then the Pluto brothers evolved, Stephen and Jeffrey Wolf Green. And yeah, so we have very interesting beginnings and very different. Those three men are very different in their approaches. But it's all about healing. So it's good to.
Yeah. Well, Shelly, how do you think the divine feminine archetype, maybe even Magdalena specifically, plays a role in the evolution of evolutionary astrology as we take it forward, as a student of evolutionary astrology who is now a practitioner and a speaker?
Okay. I think that the best thing that evolutionary, I'm going to say evolutionary astrologers, can do for the field and for humanity is to keep the science and the spirit balanced equally, because the science is more the masculine and the spirit the feminine. And so you have the word, the logos, and you have being the masculine, and you have and the science, and then the feminine part would be spirit or wisdom. And the ancient teachings, not just Christian ones, but Judaism and I think even Buddhism, and probably Hinduism too. I'm not sure. I'm not well versed on that, but they have the balance. They have the presence of the both. And I think it's when they're out of balance that we have suffering. We have suffering when they're not in balance. And so I would hope that the field of evolutionary astrology would maintain the spirit, because that's what the spirit and the science, that's what the Aquarian age is all about, right? That it's about humanity.
Yeah.
And that glyph of pouring the water out, it's not for one group or one person, it's for everybody, so all of this, so it has to be in balance, I think. And there was a former Catholic priest that I came across in the last year or two. His name is Father Sean O'Leary, and he's got this beautiful Irish accent, which I have Celtic roots too. But he talks about we've gone from, the Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, to Homo sapiens, and he sees us evolving to Homo spiritualis, and I love that. That just, I love the idea of Homo spiritualis. So I'm hoping that we can keep science and spirit together, and let them both grow equally.
Indeed. Science and spirit together, and an equal growth of all aspects of ourselves.
Amen, sister. Yeah.
Well, Shelly, I know this is the question that I had talked to you about earlier, and you're really excited about answering, and I'm excited to hear your answer for it, which is, if you could have a conversation with any historical astrologer, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
Well, I'm a double Taurus rising, Taurus sun. I want to talk to the Magi in the Bible. I want to talk to those three kings. Okay. I want to know what their plan was. And I want to talk about the gifts and the money. Okay. I really want to know about the gold and on all these gifts, because we were given a story about, the poor carpenter's son. And I'm calling BS on it, because I think that those kings set Mary and Joseph and Yeshua up for life, that they were not poor, and that money helped in his ministry. I think Jesus was a great teacher. So I want to talk turkey with the Magi, man.
Wow, what a great answer to that. I love it, Shelly. And then, wow, I didn't even go to that place. It's such a fascinating, yeah. Well, how about in Astro-Bash? Is there an astrologer you're excited to meet there?
Oh, actually, I'm kind of drawing a blank at who's coming, but I know there's some repeats that I'm looking forward to. Whoever was there, I want to hear more. Definitely.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Okay.
I have a part that I sometimes do with people, which is like a little rapid fire questions. And if you're up for it, I'll ask you a few quickies.
Okay.
Okay.
Cookies are good. I got a lot of Gemini. Let's go.
Okay. What's your favorite guilty pleasure TV show right now?
Oh, Evil. I came across it and I got all caught up. I binged on it one couple of weeks back. And so now I'm just doing it weekly, thank God. But yeah, Evil. Because it questions the Catholic stuff. And so my soul is kind of delighting. As I said, I have a Catholic soul that's in process of healing. And I watch some of this stuff, and they have a scientist and a doubter and an atheist and, all of that. So yeah.
Well, that sounds really interesting. Very different than what I thought the show would be about. Very
Yeah,
cool.
me too. I avoided it when it first came out, and then I go, oh, I'll just see. I was bored and there was nothing else. So I tried it and I went, oh, now I'm hooked.
What is your favorite aspect in your own chart?
The favorite aspect in my chart is one that causes me a lot of concern, and that is Saturn opposing my Mercury South node in Gemini. Saturn's in my 7th and they're in my 1st. And last year, I'm getting more comfortable with the opposition. Last year, Ralph was my Saturn. And when he cut me off short, he wouldn't let anybody ask me any questions. When I was done, I went, there's my Saturn, big old Ralph.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I've learned a lot from it.
If your moon could take over the world, what would be the first thing it would change?
Oh, God. I have a Pisces moon in the 11th. Peace for all tribes.
Mm,
Peace for all tribes.
that's a beautiful place for us to close. Peace for all tribes. Let's pray for that together. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
yes.